I still hear the scrape of plastic chairs against the concrete floor. That sound wakes me up some nights. They dragged my mother into the center of the village courtyard like she was a criminal. The afternoon sun was merciless, pouring down on her silver hair, lighting up every wrinkle on her face, as if age itself was a crime she needed to answer for. Her old cotton sari slipped slightly from her shoulder when they pushed her forward. Someone in the crowd laughed. Another voice, sharp and venomous, muttered, "Widows should know their place." I saw the village headman step forward, puffed chest, gold ring flashing in the sunlight. "You have refused to vacate the ancestral house," he announced loudly, as if he were delivering justice instead of theft. "After your husband's death, you have no claim." He waved documents in the air, papers I had never seen before. People I grew up with were standing there, boys who once played cricket with me, women who used to eat at our table during festivals. Not one of them met my eyes. My mother stood with her hands folded, eyes lowered, not in guilt, not in shame, in dignity. A woman from the back stepped forward and spat near her feet. "Greedy," she hissed, "wanting what was never hers." Never hers. The house my father built brick by brick. They forced her to speak. "Apologize," the headman demanded. "Apologize for creating trouble by questioning legal land transfer." Legal. I felt my nails dig into my palms so hard I thought I would bleed. My mother's voice trembled, but it did not break. "I'm sorry," she whispered. She had done nothing wrong. The crowd clapped sarcastically. I saw a teenager holding up his phone, recording every second, recording my mother's humiliation like entertainment. I tasted metal in my mouth from biting my tongue. One step. That's all it would have taken. One step forward, and I would have exploded. Then the headman delivered the final blow. "As per the signed transfer," he declared, "the officer is seized by the developer." That's when I saw it. Her shoulders trembled. Just once. She looked at me, and in that single glance, she begged me without words, "Don't fight here. Not now." So I didn't. I walked her home through the same streets where I used to run barefoot as a child. Every wall felt like it was watching us. Every whisper burned. That night, I saw her sit on the edge of her bed. She took my father's photograph from the wall. She wiped the dust from the frame with the edge of her sari. Then she folded it carefully into an old tin box. She didn't cry. She didn't complain. But her silence screamed inside me. I grew up in that house. Every brick carried the imprint of my father's hands. I remember him mixing cement under the sun, sweat dripping down his back, smiling proudly when the first wall stood upright. After he died of a stroke, everything changed. Debts surfaced like vultures. Men came with papers and numbers and interest calculations that made no sense. Later, I would learn that many of those debts were fabricated, but at that time, my mother believed them. I remember overhearing midnight arguments years ago. The headman had once come to our house, not powerful then, not arrogant, begging. He needed money for a failed venture. My father had helped him. Now that same man stood in the courtyard calling my mother greedy. My mother sold her gold bangles, the ones she wore on her wedding day, to clear what she thought were legitimate dues. I had already left for the city by then. I remember promising her, "I'll come back successful. I'll rebuild everything. We won't have to worry again." But success didn't come like a movie montage. It came in the form of a cramped rented room, skipped meals, bosses who shouted in front of colleagues, nights when I questioned if I was worth anything. Still, every month I sent money home. I believed the house was safe. The developer who claimed our land had once been my childhood friend. We used to sit under our neem tree, biting into raw mangoes, and laughing about futures that seemed endless. After my father died, he started visiting often. "Auntie, if you need anything, I'm here," he would say. He gathered information, pretending concern. My mother trusted him like a son. She served him tea in the same steel glasses my father used. The betrayal felt like someone digging up my father's grave and selling the soil. Then I discovered something that made my blood run cold. The documents waved in the courtyard carried my signature, my forged signature. I remembered years ago signing blank papers for what I was told was a land tax update. I had trusted them. My mother never told me about the increasing pressure, the late-night knocks, the threats disguised as warnings. She hid her fear to protect me, just like she hid her tears that day. The morning after the humiliation, I went straight to the land records office. The clerk looked up, saw my name, and smirked. "Oh," he said slowly, "you're the one." Files had been updated months ago. Ownership legally transferred, they claimed. Legally. I asked for certified copies. They made me sit for hours, whispering among themselves, passing files back and forth like it was a game. A neighbor pulled me aside outside. "Don't fight them," he whispered. "Fighting the headman means fighting the whole council." I found out the developer had already scheduled demolition, weeks away. I confronted him privately. He stepped out of his shiny SUV, sunglasses on, confidence dripping from him. Behind him, his SUV gleamed in the sun. At home, my mother boiled rice on a cracked stove. Anonymous calls began at night. I would answer. Silence. Breathing. Then the line would disconnect. One morning, I found an eviction notice pasted on our gate. 10 days. 10 days to erase my childhood. I walked inside and saw my mother packing utensils into old sacks. "Spring cleaning," she said softly. Spring cleaning. Rage became my only companion. I couldn't sleep. I replayed every insult she endured in that courtyard. I contacted a city lawyer, sent him copies. He called back. "The case looks airtight," he said. "Your signature is there." That forged signature felt like a noose tightening around my throat. So I started recording everything. Conversations, threats, every inconsistency. One evening, I saw the developer standing in our front yard with contractors, measuring distances, laughing. My mother watched from behind the curtain, silent again. But this time, her silence felt heavier than grief. It felt like waiting. Then, one night, when hope felt extinct, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. "I worked under your father," an old voice said, "in the land office. He said he couldn't sleep after seeing my mother humiliated. I know something about those papers." We met at a tea stall near the highway, flickering tube lights, trucks roaring past. He leaned forward and spoke in a low voice. "The registry number on your transfer papers belongs to another property." I felt the world tilt. The signatures were processed during a period when the office server was down, conveniently down. He handed me photocopies of internal logs, dates, timestamps, irregular entries. "The headman's nephew handles digital updates," he whispered. This wasn't just greed. This was coordinated fraud. "My job is at risk," he warned. "If this comes out," I nodded. "I'll protect you." That night, I scanned every document, sent them to a journalist friend from college who now specialized in investigative stories. My mother noticed something had changed in me. "What are you planning?" she asked. For the first time, I told her everything. The forgery, the logs, the conspiracy. She closed her eyes. Not in fear, like someone bracing for a storm she had been expecting for a long time. That's when I decided the humiliation they staged publicly would be answered publicly. The journalist moved fast. An investigative piece was prepared exposing discrepancies, not just in our case, but in multiple land transfers linked to the headman. On the day demolition crews arrived, I was ready. I had filed an emergency injunction with all the new evidence attached. The developer arrived with his workers, smirking.
But this time, police vehicles followed, not to evict us, to question him. The same courtyard where my mother had been shamed filled again. Phones out, people hungry for drama. I set up a temporary screen, projected copies of the forged documents, highlighted mismatched registry numbers. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Then I played the recorded testimony of the old clerk. Anonymous voice, clear facts. The journalist stepped forward and spoke about similar scams targeting widows and elderly farmers. The headman's confident smirk began to crack. In front of everyone, I said, holding up my passport, why does my signature appear on a date I was abroad? Murmurs grew louder. The developer tried to laugh it off. Clerical error. The police officer stepped in, cited sections of fraud, criminal conspiracy. My mother stood beside me,